Hello and welcome back, it's Nine, and today I have another juicy video for you. We're talking about an ex-PlayStation boss wanting to see 15-hour AAA titles return. We're talking about Sony wanting you to try to hack the PS4 and PSN and report it to them. And finally, we're talking about some Series X news that also could tie into some PS5 news. But before we get into that, please, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos. Hit the like button. It helps the channel a ton. Now let's get right into it, starting with the article that comes from pushsquare.com titled Ex-PlayStation Boss Wants to See 15-Hour AAA Titles Return. Sean Layden says, "It's hard for every adventure game to shoot for the 50 to 60 hour gameplay milestone, because that's going to be so much more expensive to achieve," he explained. And in the end, you may close some interesting creators and their stories out of the market if that's the kind of threshold they have to meet. We have to re-evaluate that. Layden continued that despite ballooning budgets, the cost of buying games has not increased. It's been $59.99 since I started in this business, but the cost of games have gone up 10 times. If you don't have elasticity on the price point, but you have huge volatility on the cost line, the model becomes more difficult. I think this generation is going to see those two imperatives collide. According to the executive, one solution may be to simply make smaller titles. Instead of spending 5 years making an 80-hour game, what does 3 years and a 15-hour game look like? What would the cost be around that? Is that a full-throated experience? Personally, as an older gamer, I would welcome a return to the 12 to 15-hour AAA game. He continued, "I would finish more games, first of all, and just like a well-edited piece of literature or a movie, looking at the discipline around that could give us tighter, more compelling content. It's something I'd like to see a return to in this business, but would you be willing to fork out $59.99 for a dozen or so hours of top-notch entertainment? Or would you be waiting for a price drop?" So this is a very interesting conversation that they had with Sean Layden. We see a lot of the times people complain about spending full price on a game that is 15 hours, right? Or 12 hours. And they get upset about it because they feel that their money should entitle them to, let's say, 30 hours of gameplay. And I completely understand both sides of the fence, right? It is true, gaming prices have not increased, yet cost of creating video games has all increased by multiple times. So that tells us that they're actually technically making less money than they ever have, considering the cost of development. So, in my opinion, I would actually be okay with seeing 15-hour AAA, experiences. That would not really bother me. A lot of the times, I actually find that these games that are 30 hours to 50 hours long sometimes feel like filler a lot of the time. They feel like kind of things that are just meant to pad out the game and really make people feel like they're getting a much longer game, but in reality, they're probably doing more tedious things. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, right? Like games like, Red Dead Redemption, for example. Those are great games, and from beginning to end, they're excellent games. So those are exceptions to the rule. I'm talking more about games that really tag on extra time on video games just for the sake of making it a longer experience. And we kind of saw this change also with the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We see that they were talking about kind of cutting it a little shorter because Odyssey and Origins were just way too long. And I do agree with that. There were a lot of times when I was playing through those games and I felt like, man, does it really need to be this long? Do I really need to do this in that segment? And I feel like, for me personally, I would encourage seeing 15-hour AAA titles return. 15 hours is where I would like it to be. 15 to 20 hours to be exact. And yeah, that would be great because we're waiting 3 years. We're not waiting 5+ years. So we're getting games faster. We're getting more refined experiences. And I think that in itself is the reward, right? If that means we don't see a spike in costs, so we're still paying $59.99, but we're getting 15-hour experiences, 20-hour experiences, I'm more than fine with that. But if we're going to keep pushing this 30 to 60-hour length game, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we want to start charging you guys $79.99. And then in Canada, where I reside, it'll be $100 for a game, which just becomes even more impractical for buying day one purchases because it is expensive. But on to the next topic. We are talking about how Sony wants you to hack them. So this comes from pushsquare.com titled, "Seems Sony will pay you to hack PS4, PSN and report security flaws. To date, we have been running our bug bounty program privately with some researchers, explained Senior Director of Software Engineering Jeff Norton on the PlayStation blog. We recognize the valuable role that the research community plays in enhancing security, so we're excited to announce our program for the broader community. The manufacturer is willing to pay up to $50,000 to anyone who can uncover critical security flaws in its console and online network. It's also offering smaller bounties for its array of websites. So this is Sony saying, hey, you guys want to break stuff? You want to hack things? All right, be productive about it. Tell us about it. We're going to give you some money for your time. And I think this is a great way to, number one, fix your network and see the security flaws. And the best way to do that is by, I guess, getting people to try to break it, intentionally and tell you about it. And at the same time, you're rewarding those people who are trying to do that. So it's not like they're just doing it to be dicks. They're doing it and they're making some money off of it. So it's a great way to have a win-win situation on both sides of this. You like to hack things, you like to break things, well, you can get rewarded for it now. And at the same time, Sony can improve their network. So yeah, if you're excited for that, go take part in that program. I'm sure you can make yourself some money and at the same time improve the PlayStation Network. Now on to our last topic. Now I know this is an Xbox topic and we most of the time spend our videos talking about PlayStation. But this is going to tie into something I'd like to see PlayStation do. Yes, you heard that right. So this is titled Xbox Series X difference will be immersion more than visuals, Spencer says. And this comes from GameIndustry.biz. Now, not so much are we going to talk about the immersion part of it or the visuals because I want to say that Sony has that in spades, no doubt about it. You know, the immersion level can't be matched. I think Sony does it the best. And that's not being a fanboy. That's saying the truth. That they have the DualSense, they have the SSD, they have the headset, they have the sound, right? So this is all things that they already are hitting. But something that they talk about in here that really interests me is how they talk about Xbox All Access is going to be critical to both our launch for Xbox Series X as well as just the overall generation. And if you guys don't know what All Access is basically, if you think about it like you have a cell phone, right? You go get a cell phone from T-Mobile, for example, and you pay a monthly cost for that phone, right? It's a tab. It's not a contract per se. So Xbox has the same thing where you would pay a monthly fee without interest, and you would get Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold included for 2 years. Now that in itself is an amazing deal. What I want to see Sony do and what I would think would be interesting for others, not for myself, I would buy this console day one, full price, whatever. But this would make the PlayStation 5 more accessible for others who aren't able to fork over those $500, $600, whatever it's going to cost at once. So this would give them incentive to go ahead and sign up almost like a cell phone plan, right? For a cell phone and pay $20, $30 a month for 2 years and getting PS Plus free and PS Now. I think that would be a great incentive for people to jump in to the PlayStation ecosystem and also for those who aren't able to just, shell out that full price right away. This is something that I find to be consumer friendly. I really like this and hope that maybe PlayStation will create some sort of program similar to this. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but similar, just because I feel like more people would be able to jump into the PlayStation ecosystem. But what do you all think? Would you guys be interested in paying a fee for 2 years for a PlayStation 5 and get PS Plus for free and get PS Now for free? Is that something that would appeal to you, or are you on the side of I would just rather pay it all up front and then worry about services on my own? What do you guys make of this Sony paying the hackers to try and hack their systems to help with security flaws? And finally, what do you think of what Sean Layden says? Do you guys agree that maybe 15-hour AAA titles making a return would be a good thing? Or would you be opposed to it and you'd be willing to pay that extra fee for games to get those 30 to 60-hour experiences? Let me know in the comments. As always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos. Follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description. Share this video with a friend, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Take care.